Yeah, welcome to this edition of Google is Evil. This weekly edition. This week's edition of, yeah, formerly What the Fuck, but whatever. Google is evil. The censorship alone, but just the whole idea of how poorly it indexes the internet. It tells you there's 1 million results. It only shows you about 35 because half of them, more than half, are just redundant things. Same website gets 10 or 12 references in the top 35. Anyway, just terrible. Anyway, horrible that we've given the internet to this marketing company. But it's the way things are, so live with them the way they are. So in that vein, I have to make a statement about some of the drama, and so I'll just say to people that I don't give any express rights to any of my content for anyone who has a malicious purpose. So if your purpose is to slander or to in some way misrepresent me or in some way degrade me in some dishonest way, not newsworthy, fake news. If all your intent is to make fake news, you don't have any rights to my content. And you're, in my opinion, violating my copyright, my ownership, my right. Because you have no fair use. Maliciousness will never be protected under fair use. So it's just a fact. Okay. So it's not legal use. And so it's theft. And you're lying. That's slander. And I will prosecute you when it becomes financially viable for me to do so. I'll have to say if or when. Okay. But yeah, it's just a fact that I would sue you if it didn't, if it doesn't cost you a fortune to do so, then I would do it. Because I believe you are violating the law, you are lying, you are misrepresenting what I'm saying, you are perverting it on purpose, you're photoshopping for the express purpose of creating misimpressions. It's all deception, it's all lies, and it's all guilt by association, and it's all bullshit. And you can't defend it, and you certainly have no right to freely distribute it or tell other people you own any of that content, because you don't own it. I own it. It's my property, and you've stolen it. So you're thieves and liars. And what you really are is unethical, cheap, sharp type people. You can't make a stand-up real argument against anything I say, and so you have to cheat wherever you can, because you have no real argument. So you have to make unreal, fake arguments. It's pathetic behavior. It shouldn't be defended by anybody who has any decency or integrity or balls, because it's just so desperately weak. It's what the desperately weak do. Okay, of mind, and body. So these are just, again, these resentful trolls with flies stuck up their nose. They have nothing else. This is their life. So they go through this extensive investigation to try to find something I said poorly, or even something I said well, and pervert it and distort it and take the word clips and put them together and try to make me say things I didn't say and to advocate for things I didn't advocate for and things I don't believe in and all of that crap. And so I did spend some time on that in the video on the website, today's video, in the beginning. And so just so there's no doubt that you've seen the content, you're not going to be able to explain to a judge that you haven't heard from me that I think you are violating my copyright and you are slandering me. So you've been given legal warning. Yes, I do intend to prosecute when it's viable for me to do so. And then you can explain how your intent isn't purely malicious, purely driven by irrational hate. Alright. It's not even irrational, that'd be the wrong word. Your hate is just a fact. And that's all that's motivating your actions, is your desire to in some way hurt me or anybody near me. That's the use of my name. So I'm claiming I own my name, I own my address, I own my house, I own all of those things. You don't have a right to paint them on your house. You don't have a right to broadcast them on your house unless you have some good purpose. You can't do it just because you don't like me. Okay, that's bullshit. And if I did that to all the people I didn't like on the internet, nobody would like me. except shitheads. Okay, so I only have an audience of absolute deplorable shitheads. And that's all these people are. They've become the moral majority now. You know, I mean, anything you do that's, you know, I mean, this is the same as the Quintucka stuff against Fred's videos. I mean, this is the same kind of fascist, control-freaky insanity. You know, this was, you might as well write this up as another Scarlet Letter book or something. These are pathetic human beings, pathetic hypocrites. They wouldn't apply these same standards to any other subject. No way. Their own philosophy wouldn't match what they're defending. You know, and the Puros fall into this category. There's hypocrisy in defending these outrageously exaggerated and silly accusations. But anyway, enough said. So that's part of the video. Okay, so the first little bit is somewhere still. I'm probably still talking about that. Yeah, I never made a profit. Just paid me for my costs, so to speak. Yeah, so I was just talking about as a kid. You know, you can, you know, it's all about these labels, and it's all about, you know, you can say Holocaust denier, and you can do this and do that, and you use these labels. And so when I was a kid, they used the label pusher, you know, drug pusher, instead of drug dealer or drug provider. You know, and I was a real provider because I wasn't even dealing it, so I wasn't making any money. I just allowed, yes, my friends, I would, you know, if they needed drugs, they would come to Gary and say, you know, and I'd say, well, you know, I paid $400 for a pound of marijuana, so whatever you want, you just pay me for how much I paid for it. And the fact is, I gave it to the chicks for free, you know, so, but whatever. But, you know, so there's a way of looking at it. And honestly describing my behavior, which was people had a need and I was servicing the need. Or you could describe it as, no, I was trying to get people addicted so I can make more money. You know, it's huge, gigantic differences between the truth and a lie. And that's all these people are doing, is playing with the vernacular to make me into something I'm not. And it's disgusting. It's really, like I said, it's disgusting to call somebody who spends 40 years feeding feral cats and taking care of them and treating them and comforting them and doing everything he can to make their life less painful, and to call him malicious against cats or a cat hater or a cat killer just because he concedes that sometimes a cat just doesn't have any good choices. There's no good place to locate the cat, and throwing it in prison, okay, it's rational for somebody to say, I'd rather be dead. And it's rational for me to think the cat's better off dead than in prison. Animals' welfare should be appreciated, and how they should be cared for, how they should never be exploited. I'm against pet ownership. I'm against all these, you know. So this is the irony, is they're making me out to be these incredibly negative things when I'm against these things in overt ways, where I, you know, point out quite explicitly I pass laws against it. I mean, that's just a fact. I'm against making prostitution legal, because until women have real choices, it is just extortion. You're just extorting people with few choices to make bad choices. Fact. But they'll make me into something else. They'll try to force an unreasonable perception and view through just pure distortion and dishonesty. You're stealing my content. I think it is a theft. Okay, so I'm still talking about it. So it's unfortunate that it occupies this much time. Because again, I shouldn't spend any time addressing endless lies from moronic hecklers, and that's all this is. And it's disgusting that people can do that. You know, that they can just stand up, make a bunch of false statements, and force you to waste your time explaining how I don't beat my wife. Yeah, it's disgusting. Clearly pointed out, so it's hardly a criticism again, of criticizing suicide. I've clearly pointed out. So I was reading a comment and he was pointing out how I criticize suicide, and I really didn't criticize suicide. I just attempted to explain to people who think they're escaping that you're not really escaping, okay? Until we clean up the process that laid your egg is going to get laid again, okay, and again and again and again. An egg that's similar enough, it's not going to make enough of a difference. If you think that, oh, there's 7 billion unique people on planet Earth, well, what do you mean by unique? I mean, unique atoms, yes, okay, then they're unique, okay, but if you're really going to talk about what a human being is, which is a bag of psychology, there's going to be basically the same bones in it. You know, there's going to be a lion bone and a zebra bone and a blah blah blah. They're going to have the same bag of bones, the same bag of ideas and thoughts and bullshit. And it's going to be fundamentally the same struggle, fundamentally the same story. Okay, whether it's 3 bears or 3 platypuses, who cares? The story's the same. And until you stop the story writers, you're not going to escape. If it's just too much, it's too much. I'm not asking you to torture yourself. Yeah. So quite obviously, I'm not criticizing. I'm just explaining that if you think you're free, you're really not. They still have their hands right around your throat, and they are going to keep suffocating you over and over again. The sufferings are intractably, harshly, negatively valued. I don't think so. This is the whole bargain. There's some idiot thinks there's pleasures or some sort of real value pleasure here that can somehow erase all these negative stuff over there, and it really can't. It really doesn't in our own lives. People would give away an awful lot. You know, I give you a cancer diagnosis, you would sell an awful lot of cupcaking, you know, to make that go away. You'd give up, you know, your graphite driver and your this and your that. There'd be a lot of stuff you'd give up, your Lamborghini and this and you know, a lot of stuff you'd give up for that. You, okay, can tell me that my suffering, okay, is worth 10 cents. Yeah, so that's the obnoxious part, is when you're forcing other beings to endure the price being paid, and then you're going to tell them what their price is, what their pain and suffering is worth. It's just incredibly obnoxious and rude and silly. And so you really have no right to monetize me by your silly ruler and tell me what my pain is worth and what I should value and all of that crap. And the fact is, you're not respecting the fact that it exists and that this attitude exists. And the fact is that you have a simple choice. You either keep imposing on people or asking you not to impose on them, and you defend it by saying you have some right to go to Disney World, dragging the people who don't want to go behind the car, and that you can make that make sense, that you can force their servitude to your ambition when they're claiming, stop, I don't want to go, I don't want to do this, I don't want to pay the price for your pleasure, I don't see the value in it, it's not worth my pain, I don't give away my pain that freely. Yeah, I have a right to say that. You don't have a right to take it. Nothing. I can't possibly see it as something precious. It's a trinket. It's a little shiny thing, a little piece of glitter you imagine. Yeah, so this is all our ambitions and our pleasures, you know, this wallowing in your pleasures. Your pleasures are just silly little stories, silly little fantasies. You realize them for tiny moments in your life. It's all quite trivial, quite superficial. And if you looked at it with any kind of depth and any kind of, you know, it's like a pretty fish. I could make a fish analogy, right? There's lots of pretty fish swimming in the ocean. They're very pretty. They're very pretty. But it's a little mechanical machine that's, you know, just chasing little pieces of nutrient and, you know, shitting and, you know, it's just this, you know, it's all superficial. Utopia or the extermination of all life. Robots to make sure it doesn't come back, etc., etc. It's not coming back, frankly, if you do it right, because the improbability of the chain of evolution. Like I said, if you can just, there's so many one-time events in the evolutionary process that you don't have to go back very far, and you're going to make it very unlikely that it would manifest back into what it did this time. just because we know it's such an improbable event, because there's no duplicate. There's no second neuron, something a little different than a neuron that does brains. There's only one kind of cell that does that, and that cell only developed one kind of way. Even the DNA molecule itself, there's no duplicate molecule. There's no parallel functioning machine, made out of some other kind of molecule. So it's clearly just, if you add up the real rareness of these events, they're insanely unlikely to duplicate. Even if you, so I'll jump ahead a little. Brain does. It makes you able to see past the trees and past the forest. Yeah, so what we should be living is some sort of mechanical life, slave to our desires, all this kind of bullshit, or should we be using this brain we have to figure out how to see the maze we're in? So it's about living in the maze, or living with your view of the maze, understanding the maze, seeing the whole game for what it is. All right, and not just being some player saying ball, kick. Instead you're understanding that the whole game is just this pointless back and forth bullshit, blah 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 blah. And maybe the right thing to do is to kick the ball into the stands, kick it out of the game. Through everything, it makes you capable of climbing up the wall of the yes, there you go, the old maze analogy. You're pretty stupid. Okay, yeah. Anyway, I'm just trying to make sense of things. Well, forget it. It's never going to make sense. It's just, you're just going to have to find a way. Let's see, okay, yeah, so these are two separate comments, right? Yeah, that's a longer one. Okay, so this was a second comment. Alright, anyway, so, yeah, so he's just, he's asking for advice, essentially, and it's like, the advice is you're on a sinking ship, okay, that's rocking, and that's, threatening somehow the future, and what is your job here? Is it to have a cigarette and, watch TV? Or is it your job to try to do something to keep shit from flying off the boat, and do something to keep the boat from plowing into the, orphanage? Are you going to be Superman, or are you going to be no man? You're going to be gutless, selfish cunt man. It's your choice. But there's no good choices. There really isn't. There's no great life. Because if you're going to have a good life at all, it's not going to be fun. Beyond just imagining it for the sake of, oh yeah, what if I got married and had kids? What would that be like? It's like obviously not a good idea. So I was just explaining how, somebody gave me a link to a video about parental desire, and just, just the very idea of it doesn't seem like rational connection of words. What the fuck would this desire be made out of? I don't see how I have any self-interest in it at all. Creating machines that I have to monitor and take care of and oil and do all that kind of stuff, and what does the machine do for me? Yeah, sorry. It doesn't even cook my breakfast. I mean, I don't eat breakfast, but you know what I mean. It's nothing. Why would this be connected to a desire exactly? What possible desire could there be? So I don't get it personally. As I've articulated, and I will articulate again in the future, I suppose, because this is probably part of the fake lie, is that there's all this parental desiring happening, and really, if you analyze all that crap, all it is some extension of their inadequacies. They want to relive their life through somebody else, or they got an ego thing, a vanity thing, and they just want to create some more vanity copies, and they don't really take it all that seriously. That, oh, what if it's born retarded? Well, that's not going to do my vanity any good, and it's going to make me a slave to its needs for the rest of its life. But instead, I'll just throw it in an institution somewhere and forget I even made that mistake. You know, it really depends on your ethics. If you have no ethics, then maybe it's possible to have parental desire. But if you have any ethical notions of your responsibility here, you're making a Frankenstein. Gee, I ought to pay attention, huh? I don't want to be putting abnormal brains in it. You know, the brain of abnormal. You know, I mean, it is a joke. It is a Mel Brooks movie. Parenting. It's insane. Risk, and for what? Crickets. I mean, I couldn't see it as anything else but a horrific horror movie. Spend the rest of your life worrying about the monster. Where are you going, monster? What are you up to, monster? You're not going to throw some little kid in the fucking water, are you, monster? Who needs that shit? No, thank you. No, thank you. I've had enough pets, you know, not on purpose, but, you know, acquired caretaking of animals to know, gee, this isn't any fun. I mean, there's some very nice moments, but shit. The unnice ones are just, whoa, way too expensive. So anyway, till the next time and such, that's all there is to say, right? It's enough. I don't think there's anything else. There is somewhere in there I did point out, you know, just because I do rag on the commenters now and then. There's some people that do comment very nice, and I appreciate it, and it helps, and it's good to hear somebody say something nice, and then now and then, all that kind of crap. But I just mean, you know, it's the negatives are just so much louder. You know, the lies sell, and the drama sells, and the, you know, so it's always the squeaky wheel gets the attention thing. It's a fact of life, and unfortunately it's just a really bad fact. But anyway, that's the world we live in, and I will endeavor to persevere in doing what I can for the cause of mitigating against the experiencing of the unnecessary hardship. That's the mission. Yeah. Get rid of the unnecessary part. It's the easy stuff, the unnecessary part. And the irony is, you'll find out it's all unnecessary. Every bit of the suffering is completely unnecessary. Alright, anyway. Till the next time. Such. Yeah, it's enough. Okay. Transition. Okay, so now I do have to leave. So, till the next time. And when I will again say something about how I don't get you. And it's just a fact, I don't get most of you. Most of you are living in a world I can't, you know, can't even try to make my brain so bent and crooked to see value in your function. You know, it's just the truth. Till the next time and such.